Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. We can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning. Man, I am still like so sick. I feel like I'm on death's door. But we got a non-farms payroll today, and you know, non-farms is always pretty big. But this one could be huge. All of the numbers that we've got coming into this have been pretty bad. So I expect that the market expectation is 200K. I think we're probably going to be under that, right? Oh, let's start some music, yay. I think we're probably going to be under that 200K. Now, I come over here. I don't have my charts opened up, so I'm not going to go through the overnight charts. Okay. Last time that we did this, we kind of had a little bit of computer troubles, right? So I'm going to run this over again and see if I can duplicate it or see what like my performance is. Anyways, so for the non-farm payrolls, big thing that I want to note is that the reaction function for what the market will do based on the number may be different this time. So I expect us to be under 200K. If we're slightly under 200K, if we're like 100K, then market probably rallies. But if the number is too bad, okay, let's see here. Goldman Sachs was saying under from 0 to 125K. Then Goldman is saying that the S&P 500 could either move up or down 1 to 2%. Okay. So keep that in mind. This is going to be a little bit different. I have 270. I have too many processes. I think I got stuff running on this machine that I think it's been too long and that it's probably time to. Although most of that junk is just Windows stuff, I think. Definitely got a sinus infection here. IV is pretty high for 60. They are hoping for a big move. Yeah, so anyways, last time I thought maybe it was Ninja Trader was doing something weird. So I thought that I would just do it. So what the error is that my mouse clicks don't get registered in Jigsaw until like long after the news. So as soon as this news hits, I'm going to try putting some orders in and we'll see if they pop up here. Because last time it was almost a minute, 3 minutes before they showed up. And then that ended up giving me bad executions. So I'm going to shut down Ninja Trader to try and, eliminate that as a possibility. And also to try and eliminate, that the system was maybe just overloaded as a possibility, right? Leave a like for nothing burger, guys. I should have put up a poll, but I think it's a little bit too late for that, huh? So right here, right now, I can put orders on and cancel them just fine. 30%? You think 30% is too high? Maybe it is. I mean, it is an older machine. This machine is coming up on 5 or 6 years. I'd like to upgrade it next year. But maybe if I get pegged here, my CPU gets pegged here. Maybe it's time this month to do it. Oh, that's interesting. But what kind of processor do you have? I have a Ryzen 7 1700X. But I'm also like streaming and doing a bunch of these other things, right? So. That sounds like I forget what all the numbers are for the Intel processors, but I think that's much newer than mine. Yeah. All right, here we go. 10 seconds. Oh, bad. Okay, it did put my orders out though. Maybe it is NinjaTrader. Oh, that is so bad, man. This market, well, okay, it's not so bad. It was 221 versus a consensus 185 200. Let's see here. Average hourly earnings was really high too. 0.6. Ouch. And let's see here. Where's the unemployment rate? Oh, that's up here. Oh, sorry, I was reading the wrong number here. Non-farm payrolls was 263 versus 200. That's right. Unemployment rate was in line, 3.7. What a shit number. Oh man, oh man. How can that number be high again? Okay, this is I tell you what, at this point, so we kept getting these numbers, right? That were when we would look at like all of the tea leaves and like the unemployment claims and things like that, and then compare it to the jobs created number. And everybody was saying like the jobs created number is too high. You hear that many times. And remember, the conspiracy theory was that the administration was cooking the numbers for the election. And so when the election was over, then the numbers would be bad. Well, I think that just destroys that conspiracy theory, doesn't it? But this is, man, what a gut punch. This is going to be such a gut punch for the market. Yesterday, I was thinking, well, you know, if the Federal Reserve is able to back off here and maybe things are bad enough that they back off interest rate increases in January, you know, beginning of next year or something like that. Like maybe we've already seen the lows because the market is, you know, it's orders that move things and the market is looking forward to the next set of orders. But now that we're coming in here in December and we're still seeing higher than anticipated non-farm payrolls, of course that CPI number is going to be really critical as well. But this makes me think that it's much more possible, let's say, that we get new lows for the year. Man, okay, so you know, I could have tried scalping this and everything, but I'm so sick of it, and you know, I didn't really care. Now let's open up NinjaTrader. So we were able to go through that just fine, though. So I'm gonna be really interested to see. We'll do this again on CPI with NinjaTrader open. Maybe it's something in NinjaTrader that's causing the problem. This is so bad. Okay, well, so one thing I'm noting is that you know, we started this pretty high compared to yesterday. 114 was about the levels that we were at yesterday, right? So the levels that we're getting here in the treasuries relative to the rest of the week aren't too bad. S&P 500 awfully close to 4,000 though. You really have to wonder what's gonna happen if they dip below 4,000. So 70 point drop. That is so, I am just so bitterly disappointed, man. That is a really disappointing number. I saw this video on TikTok, and they said it was just only text, and it was like, the number will be better than expected and the market will rally. And I'm like, you have no fucking clue what you're doing, do you? Well, he was dead wrong. Oh man, that cough felt so good. I mean, it hurts my chest like it kills, but I feel like I can breathe a little bit better. Thanks, Nick. Nick Timmeros tweeting, non-farm payroll employment number increased by 263,000 in November, and the unemployment rate was unchanged at 3.7%. So I take it what happened here was a lot of people got laid off from big tech companies, etc., and they went and found new jobs really, really quickly, and that's why the number's so high. I bet you that's the key driver that's causing that. I bet you. I don't know. That's my theory, rather. Perfect song for such awful market action. Oh. It's so sad, guys. I'm just thinking, like, we were like right there. We had the good CPI number, and Powell said the good thing, and all we needed was for like non-farms and CPI to not be awful. But no, this is why we can't have nice things, guys. Y'all need to stop getting jobs. What's wrong? Wait, non-farms payroll means people get dismissed? I thought the numbers were jobs created. Well, so if somebody got dismissed and then they went and they got a new job, that would be marked as a job created, right? So if you had this month, a bunch of people got laid off and they were all able, because of a tight labor market, to get hired again very, very quickly, then you could get that high non-farms payroll number. Make sense? Uh-oh, Kanye West sent back to Twitter jail after offensive tweet. I don't have any... Zero Hedge has not posted anything yet. Well, it looks like they are on the up curve falling back into the liquidity hole from the move. So now is a good time to kind of come back and look at our charts now, yeah? So here we got the treasuries off this move. It's not retracing the Powell's Brookings event yet, okay? But it did, there was some decent upside action yesterday, and that is all getting wiped out here in the treasury. So maybe it's not quite as bad. Maybe it's not quite as bad as I think. If we start getting into here, like below, let's say below 113.16, then I'm really gonna be unhappy. Not that I have any money on it or anything, but it's just not good for the economy. I want to see the economy do well. All right, ES also now this ES is different. ES is retracing its movement from the Brookings speech, not completely, but oil actually faring okay off of this. Gold and silver, yeah, getting hammered here. Copper. Bitcoin, man, Bitcoin got savaged there. Didn't quite breach 1600, but then the dollar taking a big jump back up above 105. The dollar's got a long way to climb back, though, if they're gonna climb back this. So this is a really interesting situation, because remember, what moves markets? Orders moves markets, okay? Not fundamentals. So when we come in and we look at this, and we come in and we say, okay, people bought because of the Powell Brookings speech, but then they sold because of the non-farms payroll. And let's just say, well, that this is as low as they go, and we've already seen the lows for the day. Let's just for the sake of argument, okay? I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying for the sake of argument, okay? Does that mean that the non-farms payroll doesn't mean as much as the Powell Brookings number? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It's just a function of the orders, right? The combination of liquidity and market orders pushed the market up more than it pushed the market down on this day. So we can't make any kind of fundamental determination about the market based on whether this completely retraces this or not. Certainly, though, if we got below this Powell Brookings number, there would be a lot of people who maybe bought that news and everything that are going to be rethinking like their whole framework of things, right? So that in that respect, those kinds of levels might matter. All right. I tell you what, if I had been well, right? If I had been well and I had wanted to trade that, I wouldn't have been able to do it, would I? There was no way I would have gotten filled on any of that. I guess the best that I probably could have gotten was maybe 114. You see this? There's this whole area right here where at least on my DOM, I don't have anything print. Do any of you guys have anything print between 114.16 and 114.11? That is wild. You have trades there, Uzi? That's curious. Could you post a picture of that on Discord for me? In the interest rates room? Still, anyways, like I'm sitting here like, oh, I wish I wasn't sick. This would be a huge move to try and make money off of, but I wouldn't have made any money off of the initial move, probably. Well, I have a little bit of breakfast that I didn't finish. I'm so sick. I had a really hard time eating, so I'm gonna try and force it down. All right. Yeah, there was no way I would have gotten filled, and I wasn't watching the micros, but I was, if I had tried to take a trade, I probably would have gotten screwed, right? So it was a good thing. It was a good thing. Okay. Oh yeah, you do have some. Oh, that's interesting. Oh well, wait. Do you have overnight volume there though, huh? You have the volume from overnight. Like, I have never seen a space where absolutely no volume traded that large. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 ticks. Maybe it has happened in ES. I personally can't think of one, because remember I have that whole like Gabby thing. Oh, actually I take that back, because we did get 16 ticks, or sorry, we got 40 ticks adverse excursion once, huh? So I guess it's true, but in the treasury, man, nothing anywhere close to that in the treasury. Let's recenter things. Okay, I'm seeing some interesting stuff go on here. Okay, so I think that a really massive flattener is coming in. Yeah, I'm seeing really strong buying in the 30-year, but the 5-year is selling pretty heavily. I'm also seeing a little bit of tepid buying in the 10-year, but that's mostly just in line with the movement. So I think that the move here is flat, which is kind of curious, because we had a massive shift, like the spread between the 5-year and the 30 moved 2 points. So for people to be taking like adding on to the spread at that point is a little like alarming. They could do that. I think, man. So it was about 30,000 net contracts sold. Some of that is going to have to take profits for sure. So I think you're right. I think that the pullback on this might be really, really surprising. You know what? I should highlight another thing in there was that average hourly earnings was double what they expected. That doesn't help. Raymond Schrodinger, I think I missed something non-frame. What do you mean? Oh no, that huge orange candle there, that was non-farm payrolls. Do you never clear recent orders? I do. This might be a good situation to do it, to clear the ones that are on the upside so that we can kind of see like how much we've pulled back. Actually, yeah, let's do it here in the 10-year because it looks like they might be turning back down, and I want to see if they make it back to the lows or not. But usually in the treasury, I just remember well enough. I don't know. I guess the thing is that what I care about the most is what I'm seeing actually trade right on the inside at any given moment, right? So like right now, there's actually quite a bit of back and forth at 025, right? They're printing 1,000 on each side of this. It's ticking up a bunch of times, it's ticking down a bunch of times. So there is like two-way trade in this location, which you know, it was not the case through most of this here at the bottom. So from a purely order flow perspective, this might be the spot to go short. I don't think that as a trade makes much sense though. Like the amount of upside risk on it is like way too much. But that spot definitely interests me, right? You know, so if they see other prints up here, I don't really care. Trade ES and tend to clear pretty often. I mean, I think where the clearing helps the most is you want to keep track of how far it moved on this particular move, right? But I guess the question kind of triggered me a little bit because I see a lot of people try and use order flow in a way of like, I saw something like a big order happened there like 2 days ago, and so I think that's a significant price or something like that. That stuff just like doesn't matter. When you're seeing a big order and stuff at that moment, especially if you start to see low latent liquidity in that area, that can be important because that could mean that price could become constrained in that area. But otherwise, if it's been more than 45 minutes, I just don't care anymore. Okay, they're continuing through. It looks like maybe somebody was fighting it there, but so I think that the issue you get with trading this kind of action, should I say the issue, is that the liquidity just jumps out of the way either way. So it gets really, really hard to try and pick a place where it's like gonna like actively turn, right? Okay, are they gonna try and jump through this one, you know, get past 110? This will be interesting. What if the treasuries like recover the whole down move? I don't think off of a piece of news like that I would have the balls to go for the reversal trade, but it's looking pretty good so far, isn't it? You forgot or never listened to me on how to catch this short on non-farm release and catch the reverse? No, I did not. I would have had to have gotten in before that move to have gotten any kind of fill on that down move, and there's no way I was, you know, it's so funny. Oh, we should keep track of this, man. We should keep track of this stuff. Let's go and make a sheet. Sheets.google.com. So we'll pull this spreadsheet over here. Events. Prediction. Trade. Results. Returns. I think in here I want to add insert one column left. Confidence. Notes. There's a way to enter after the release with near no risk and a way to catch the reverse the same way. Well, I can think of maybe a couple of things that maybe you could do, but like if there was no volume traded there, there was no volume traded there, right? Like it would have been really hard for me to have gotten any fills above where we're at, above that 10. It's kind of funny, they came right to that gap and shied away from it. Okay, so the event was December non-farms. Prediction. Under expectation. Confidence high. Trade would be long all. Result was higher than expected. Turn markets, all markets sold. Strong number maybe from recently laid off workers getting new jobs quickly due to tight labor markets. Have you noticed that I'll come in and I'll be like, well, the number's probably going to be less than expected, but you know, you never know, sort of a thing. And then I'll be right about those and it's just like, boom, like we smack it out of the park or whatever. But then when I come in and it's like, oh yeah, this number's going to be like awful, right? I'm really, really confident about it and it defies me. That's happened many, many, many times on non-farms, hasn't it? I think if we start to track this, I'm gonna bet that I'm probably 50-50 and that maybe it's just random. But it seems to me that when my confidence is really high, that I'm more likely to be wrong. I got the move, but since Vol crushed after that, you end up in break even unless you take a side. Did that not look good? I like practice. I was like almost choking on that loogie, man. That one was nasty. Whew. Maybe next time I'll move the camera. I'm coughing up pretty thick stuff out of my lungs now. I'm fine watching it, but I'm pretty big. I have. There. I'm wondering at what point do I really need to go to an Instacare? And you know what else? I did take an ibuprofen, but I've got a pretty decent cold sweat going on. Like you can see, my head is a little shiny. Steam with garlic. Yeah, but anyways, my question is, like, at what point do I have to go to the hospital because I'm like not gonna be able to breathe, you know, like, because you can go downhill really quickly with this sort of thing, right? And I don't know if I necessarily have a bacterial infection in my lungs. I don't know, but like, it's definitely pneumonia. I mean, can you hear? Here, pause the stream. Just normal breathing you can really hear. No, I haven't taken a COVID test, but my stepdaughter, who was the first one to get sick with this, went to the Instacare and they tested it that it was the flu. So I'm pretty confident that I have the flu. But like, I got this junk in my lungs, I want it out. I don't think I'll be working today. I can't like think at all. Those are frustrating because I would at least like to be like studying for my test or something, but like I can't. Just like it's like hard to even, you know, like hold a phone or anything like that. It's hard. Okay, so a couple of things. I just got a news squawk here. Another rumor about OPEC that they are probably going to keep their current targets, but they haven't ruled out a cut. Also, we have Feds Evans speaking in 10 minutes, so I did not realize we got we got Barkin at 7:15 and Evans at 8:15, so that's gonna be interesting. You need to drink thyme tea. Look it up. I don't know if tea would like soothe the throat, but I don't really have too sore of a throat. It's like my lungs, man. Like having somebody stick a tube down my throat and like sucking up my lungs sounds kind of nice right now. Let's see here. It'll be good for your lungs. Okay. I thought that the shower would clear things up, but didn't do too much. Yeah, I think I need to go see a doctor. Person's overall health and medical history can affect the severity of pneumonia symptoms. Typically, adults who are generally healthy before developing pneumonia experience moderate symptoms. Those who have chronic medical issues may be more likely to have severe symptoms. Here are symptoms you should look out for: severe sweating and/or chills. I have that. High fever that could reach up to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, I've been at 102.7. Congestion, chest pain, or a feeling of tightness, yes. Loss of appetite, yes. Dehydration, yes. Fatigue, yes. Muscle pains, yes. Shortness of breath, yes. A cough that produces thick yellow, brown, white, or green phlegm, yes. If you have any of these symptoms, you should see your doctor to prevent the illness from progressing. Chest pain, yes. Difficulty breathing, maybe. Persistent cough, especially if you're coughing up blood or pus. I don't think that what I got is pus, but maybe it's white, and sometimes it's foamy white. Do you have a pulse oximeter? I don't. I think that it is in my lungs. I don't think that it is widespread enough to be affecting my oxygen levels. Persistent high fever, yes. In fact, yesterday, because before I was taking Tylenol and the fever would go away, yesterday it didn't go away. You got more sick than me, Nasdaq killer? No, that's gotta be terrible. Dude. What do you have? You can get those at Walgreens for $20? Really? I'm betting that I'm not having oxygen problems. You check your stuff 2 to 3 times a day, really? Well, you know, the thing that's going through my head right now is I'm thinking, this is gonna damage my lungs. Yeah? Is that what is the word? I just want to outmatch. Yeah, you always have to be the best at everything, huh? Is that an irrational fear? That because when I cough, it hurts. Well, if it's only $20, I may well go and do that. But you know what I think I'm gonna do? I think after this stream, I'm just gonna drive down to the Instacare. Claritin, no. So I typically take Claritin. And when I got sick, I stopped taking it because I didn't want to be suppressing my immune system. Oh, interesting. So 28 was as low as they could get on that swing, huh? I would say that I can breathe, but that it feels constrained, like I can hear it as I breathe, and there's definitely stuff down in there. It's probably not like pooling in the bottom of my lungs, but like it's in there. Us poors that don't have health insurance because the government made it too expensive just to kill. Oh man, dude, for you that are self-employed, the whole healthcare system is just so messed up. This is something really frustrating. I get, you know, I always say you need different types of people in a democracy, right? You need, some people need to understand that things are done the way that they're done for a reason, and that there's you know, there's a lot of wisdom to be gained from looking at tradition and old social conventions, particularly as it pertains to things like marriage and children and stuff like that, okay? But I also feel for progressive-minded people, because there are absolutely situations where we have a system set up in the United States that is just not very good. And it's impossible to change it. I really don't think that we should go to a socialized healthcare. That's what's so sad about it. Is that if the United States went to a socialized healthcare, I think that would be a disaster for everybody. Like I think many countries are kind of having their healthcare subsidized by the United States to some extent, right? If the United States goes to a socialized healthcare, that might cause all sorts of chaos, right? But this whole system where you get your health insurance through your employer, and if you don't get it through your employer, then your health insurance is more expensive because you're not getting the group discount, is so stupid. It's just a terrible system. Yeah, nothing like making good enough money to build a life, but too much to get the subsidized health insurance, but not enough to afford it without subsidies. Well, can't you get a high deductible healthcare plan and put a ton of money in your health savings account, though? As I tell you what, man, if put the money in a health savings account if you can get one. Health savings account is awesome. It's cheaper to be self-pay. But if you're self-pay, do you qualify for a health savings account at that point? I don't think you do. No, you have to have a high deductible health plan. That's the other thing that I really hated about Obamacare, is that I think that if you're a kid, you're in your 20s and you're active and everything, that you should be able to buy like basic catastrophic injury only health insurance, right? Like health insurance that's only for if you cut your arm off or something like that. You know, an occasional sickness. Whereas somebody like me, I have to go in every 6 months for my gut. I have to go in every 6 weeks for my ADHD medications. I have extremely severe allergies. I wish I knew why I was this way, but that means that I need more healthcare than the average person. And I just don't think that they should like force everybody to have the same level of healthcare coverage as I have, you know? Yeah, Obamacare did to premiums exactly what I said it was going to do 11 years ago. Yeah, of course it did. Well, remember, going back during those times, I'm sure some of the kids won't remember, but I think most of the people here on the stream will remember these times. Because I gotta tell you, people have a short memory. Nobody ever denied it. Like the Republicans said, this doesn't do anything to control costs, and it's just going to make healthcare premiums more expensive, like significantly more expensive. And they did all of the projections, and all of that went exactly the way that they said it did. And here's the thing, there wasn't like the Democrats were sitting there going, oh no, that's wrong. Here's what it's actually going to do. It's, you know, they might have said that it was going to decrease premiums, but they never really fought back against this argument that it reduced the healthcare costs, right? So I think the reality is that the Democrats knew, like the thing that's so fucked up about Obamacare is that Obamacare was about one problem, which was what happens if you get fired and your health insurance lapses, and then you're no longer covered for pre-existing conditions. That's what it was all about. Okay? So yeah, they wanted to fix that. So they fixed that. But then everything else about that bill was basically designed to be a failure. That's what's so messed up about it. So they really wanted it to be, oh, Obamacare will be so awful, let's have socialized healthcare now. It was a poison pill, man. And Republicans, because of John McCain, passed on the opportunity to rescind the law. Now we're stuck with it. It'd be super, super hard to change. And like to get off of the, you know, like your employer primarily provides your insurance kind of system, it'd be pretty hard to do. We just need to do government funded assisted suicide like it. There you go. Financially penalize people to force them to purchase risk-based products from for-profit publicly traded companies. Premiums going down was an effing sin. Yeah, there was no way that premiums were gonna go down. I mean, even if you thought that this was a better healthcare system, you still have this issue that it's not like a real competitive market, and the price of some things in the healthcare industry are just retarded. Well, things have really slowed down around 1:14 even. We got about 10 minutes to the open here. Yeah. But you know, my least favorite thing about it is the medications. So I remember when I started all this stuff and I worked for Goldman, and they'd always give me the nicest health insurance. Man, their health insurance was so nice. I tell you, I don't know how they do it. I work for an actual healthcare company. Okay, like we're a healthcare exchange. Okay, like you go onto our website and you sign up for, you know, from all the different healthcare providers, sign up for a Medicare plan. That's what my day job is. Okay, but we had better health insurance when I was at Goldman than we do working at the insurance company. Not the insurance. It's not at the exchange. I don't know if that's just because Goldman was so freaking awesome about that, or if it's just that the plans have gotten worse over time. But like I first got diagnosed with the ulcerative colitis when I still worked for Goldman. And it was no big deal. It was an expensive thing, but it was just like $50 or something like that. And I just made sure that I contributed a lot to my flexible spending account and I was fine, right? And then like they started shifting the plans. They were like, oh, okay, medications are no longer covered now until you meet your deductible. You flippin' kidding me? So basically, this is the crazy thing, okay? I have a high deductible health plan. I meet the deductible every year. Can you believe that? I easily hit the deductible every year just from my medication. You think all the healthcare privacy with HIPAA is hurting our ability to data mine and make our system more efficient? Nah. I really don't think so. So, here's the thing. HIPAA is largely about personal information. So like, the provisions in HIPAA, of course there's a lot of parts to the law, right? But the most important parts of it are like you have to keep things secure and you can't just let their social security numbers, you know, get flooded out everywhere or leaked out or whatever, right? Or really any personal identifying information, so like phone number, address, these sorts of things, right? So like you're kind of suggesting if we didn't have HIPAA, then we could come in and we could do something like we could look at who's using what products and use machine learning to somehow make our healthcare system more efficient, right? Is I think what you're suggesting. And what I would say is that you don't need any of that personal health information to be able to make that kind of a determinant, to make those kinds of insights, right? You could just go in and you could look at an individual facility and say, how much is this facility being used? How effective is the treatment actually being? So no, I don't see how that would prevent us from being able to collect data that would help us make healthcare more effective. But at the same time, I don't think that the inefficiencies in the healthcare system have anything to do with like not being able to optimize our treatment, right? How do we collect more healthcare data variables that allow statisticians to do their magic? Well, you can get it from the healthcare providers themselves, right? So I as a doctor, I can come in and I can say, I've treated X people for this, and this is how many, because that's not going to have any personal identifying information in it at all, right? I'm getting better, but it still kind of hurts here. I don't want like scarring in my lungs, man. I'd rather die in a truck crash as a healthy little fiddle than go to a doctor's, or I'm going to the doctor today, man. Hey, I pay for it. I've already met the deductible. I might as well. I'm worried because I think the baby's got it now too. But I don't think so. I think that my wife has had it for a while as well, but she's not reacting to it the same way that I am. I think that it's me. I have like some sort of autoimmune disease of some sort. Like I'm just really, my immune system, it's not, maybe I shouldn't call it an autoimmune disease, but like my immune system is like really prone to freaking out for some reason. Because having a fever for 3 days straight is probably not justified by the... Well, I guess Asher had it for a week, though. Okay, Sebastian Newman, why did things go down on a strong payrolls gain? Okay, so first thing we got to think about is when we're asking this kind of question, we always need to remember what moves the markets, what? Orders moves the markets, okay? Not the fundamentals. Not chart patterns, orders. So we have to sit and consider what orders in now and in the future are more or less likely to come in now because of this piece of news. Okay, so a strong payroll gain, that means that the labor market is still very tight. And the Federal Reserve is trying to, loosen up the labor market so that we're not getting such strong inflation. I think it's probably likely that labor and average hourly earnings probably continues to go up and becomes more of a contributor to inflation now going forward, because people just took like a 10-20% decline in their earnings power, right? So companies are going to have to catch up, to some extent. They might not completely recover it, but you can't just lose 10-20% of your earning power, right? That's people ain't gonna be happy about that. So probably you're still going to see a lot of earnings. Okay, so that means that the Federal Reserve has to still keep things tight. Okay, so if the Federal Reserve isn't putting that liquidity out there, then there's all of these orders, business investments that people would normally like to make if they had the liquidity, but they won't. They won't have the funding to be able to do that. So that means less future orders, and so the market sells. So basically, in the current environment, you have to basically, good news is bad, and vice versa. Now, I think that this time it might have been different. If we had been like 100,000, it's very possible that instead of rallying on that they would have also sold. Because then it would get to the point where people are like, oh, there's a recession. Like I was saying, another key thing I would want to note here for you, Sebastian, we come over here to the chart, is that because it's the orders that move the markets, so when we had this Powell's Brookings thing, a certain number of orders bought up. Now in this situation, a certain number of orders have sold. Well, this is like a very illiquid market where you're going to have like a wide range and it's going to come back really hard on you and things like that. So we shouldn't read anything into this move was bigger than this move, right? Because the current price is not truly reflective of all available information. We have to track these things separately, right? We have to come in and say, okay, what are the possible predictors of order flow, and what are the future order flows likely to be? And meanwhile, what is the current state of the economy, and what is the state of the fundamentals? And we have to track the fundamentals on our own. People want to say, well, the market tracks the fundamentals, but it actually doesn't. The market is not informationally efficient. The current price is not reflective of all available information. So we have to do that. Now, unfortunately, there's not really a super good metric like price to determine how good the economy is doing. But, you know, still, we got a big piece of information there that, you know, we can consider and use. Most likely some big players who want to get out of the market, so it's a nice way to do it. Yeah. Well, I am awfully concerned here that, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe one non-farms payroll is maybe not the end of the world. I think that the bias that we're vulnerable to falling victim to in this situation is, you know, putting too much emphasis on the most recent data point. Maybe that's not the end of the world, okay? But, like, from a technical perspective, it's pretty hard for me to oh, come on. There we go. Come on. There we go. It's pretty hard to not see it, like, come down. Yeah, it's my pen's not working today. Greg, I was getting ready for a long Friday scalp day. Grind and grind away. It's too fast, no fun. Well, I wouldn't completely give up on that. I mean, my gosh, hold on. Anyways, I'm concerned that they're going to go back towards the lows. I don't think that data point necessitates that we have to do that, but I think there's a really good chance that we go for new lows now. There's a really good chance that we go for new lows now. Come on. Oh my gosh. This pen is all screwed up. I'm just gonna kill it. It was like that last update for Epic Pen, like, ruined the app. I don't know what the deal is. The fact that earnings went up also affected it? I mean, under normal circumstances, a good labor market would be good for, like, future earnings and all those sorts of things, but because the interest rate's such a key factor here. There we go. Jeez. Well, I wasn't using TA. I was just trying to, you know, I was trying to paint a picture for you that, you know, it's kind of hard to not see it coming back down here now. I kind of thought that we would see, you know, another decline at some point, maybe not breach. Like, before this, I was thinking, okay, like, we probably rally through December, and then in January, like, maybe we get to here, maybe even to 4,300. But then we sell again in February, and then maybe normalize out. Now I think things look a little worse, like, cause like realistically, this tight interest rates market is gonna last for a really long time. I'm very disappointed by the number. This is helping you. Oh, well. If you're short, then good for you. So, you know, I was thinking about, there's this person on TikTok, I commented on their TikTok. They were like, oh, we're guaranteed to move back down. I was like, well, not necessarily. You know, just because the yield curve is inverting doesn't mean that we have to move lower. In fact, you know, when we're looking 3 to 6 months out, that could mean that, like, we already saw the lows. And that is like a really realistic possibility. It's just that the non-farms numbers are not helping, right? So probably I think we do go lower. But I digress. But I also told him, like, because he was saying, okay, when the yield curve inverts, here's what he said. When the yield curve inverts, it means that bonds with shorter duration are higher than bonds with longer duration. And I was like, no, that's not the right terminology you should use. I tried to present it like really nice, but I was saying you know, we're talking about short maturity times, right? Bonds with short maturity times or long maturity times, because duration is a measure of how sensitive a bond price is to a change in interest rates, right? Like DV01, the dollar value of a basis point, that's a measure of duration, right? And he said, I was referring to a Mikulski duration. Like, first of all, I don't think that you were. Second of all, like, nobody on TikTok is going to know that. And what I understand from a Mikulski duration after looking it up, it's not relevant in this situation at all. What you mean to say is short maturity times compared to long maturity times, right? The 2-year treasury is above the 30-year treasury or whatever the deal is, right? I think those sorts of things, like, I know that those sorts of things, like, it sounds like it's a dumb, pedantic, like, elitist kind of an argument, but I think it's really important if you want to get deeper into the bonds, because the whole thing about, like, duration and convexity, like, really matters, right? And it kind of factors into somewhat how the yield curve kind of ends up flattening. Because bonds with a smaller coupon, right? A small coupon yield has higher duration. So it's not just really, like 30-year treasuries that have high duration. It can also be like bills that just have really small coupons. So like if you have a bill that is, has a 25 basis point coupon, right? And then the Federal Reserve comes in and raises interest rates 25 basis points, like you're screwed. Okay, that bond is gonna like decline, and so it's not gonna be worth very much on the market anymore because somebody can go out and get much better yield now, right? You're gonna lose money. When duration is mentioned, Macaulay duration is assumed to be default. Modified duration is always mentioned as such. Okay. I would always kind of mix them up, and then I started studying for the Series 65. And in the Series 65, they say duration is a measure of a bond's sensitivity, bond's price sensitivity to a change in yield. So like, anyways, that's why like in the beginning, those short maturity times, the bonds will kind of come up faster, right? Because they're more sensitive. But then when everything is kind of more even, then you start to get the weird funky stuff, because now the 30-year bonds definitely have way more duration because the yields are pretty much the same across the board. So the only thing that you have to factor into the duration now is the time to maturity. Well, so the reason why I was saying, I don't know if... So when he was saying like Macaulay duration, when I looked that up, they were saying that Macaulay duration was basically like, how long would you have to hold it to actually get the expected future earnings or whatever, what's the word, what I'm looking for, cash flows or whatever, to get the actual expected future cash flows. How long do you have to actually hold it? Something like that. There you go. Get to the break even using interest and accrued. That's right. So I'm just saying, when we're talking about the yield curve inverting, right, it has nothing to do with, I don't know why you would bring up Macaulay duration. Why wouldn't you just it has to do with the maturity times. It's when the bonds with the short maturity times, like the 2-year, are above the ones with the long maturity times, like the 30-year. Right? Anyways, I don't think that it was like, I wouldn't be like, you don't know what you're talking about. It seems like that's kind of verbiage and phrasing that like people mix up all the time, and that only somebody into bonds would like pick up on, but I think would be important to teach people to get the terminology right and understand what they're reading and stuff like that, right? But for him to come back and be like, well, I was talking about Macaulay duration, everything was like, maybe he just didn't understand what I was saying, but like it really turned me off. I was like, well, I thought maybe you were cool, but maybe I'm not gonna mess with you anymore, because you can't just admit a small mistake. That's not a good sign, right? Am I wrong? See, Akshay is coming in here and he's just saying your reflexivity and convexity comes from that. Yeah. So can't you consider DVO1 a measure of duration as well, though? That would be, or is that what you would refer to as modified duration? What would you call DV01? See, Akshay is coming in and showing that he's the one that actually really knows all this shit. DV01 is just your duration on a portfolio amount. Okay, sure. By default, it's calculated. Oh, yeah. I don't know. So help me out here, because it seems to me like if I wanted to kind of like do the kind of analysis on this sort of a thing, that DV01 would be a lot easier to deal with. Yeah. So like I should be able to come in here to the treasury analytics, I think. Right. And okay. Oh, OTR DV01 38 is in the 2-year, and in the 10-year it's 61. Right. So that means that for a given change in interest rates, the value, not the interest rate itself on the bond, but the value of the bond is going to move twice as much as the value of the 2-year. Right? But the reason why understanding duration and then convexity, given equal amount of face value in both. Yes, correct. And the reason why this matters is because if you're trying to set up a spread trade, this kind of explains why you get kind of some of the spreads do some of the things that they do, essentially. Right? Especially if you're going to be doing it over here in the futures. Well, I have seen some but speaking of spreads, I've seen some pretty strong flows come into the ZB this morning, but I'd say overall the spread didn't really shift too much since the original news. Do you have Omicron? No, I don't. I have not been tested, but other people in my family have been tested with what they had, and they had the flu, not COVID. That's why I said the other day, a spread trade is implicitly a hedge. You're trying to flatten your exposure on DV01 on 2 points on a curve. Well, okay, I think I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that if I'm going to do 2 and 10, that because the 2 years DV01 is 31 and the 10 years DV01 is 62, that, you know, I use that to determine how many contracts of each I get, so that my trade is essentially as close as it possible to the actual change in interest rates between the two of those things, right? So it is implicitly a hedge, I guess, but I guess the thing that I was trying to point out when we were talking about that the other day is that you can't hedge yourself against all things necessarily, right? You can kind of choose which thing you're going to be exposed to. So what most, yeah. So like the bank What the bank does is they try and hedge and eliminate as many risks as possible, because the only thing that they really want to make money on is the actual transaction, you know, facilitating a market for other people. You don't have to go completely flat. You can have exposure depending on your thesis, right? So a spread trade is basically hedging yourself against absolute changes in interest rates and only exposing yourself to the difference in the yield curve in the move, right? Which is kind of an interesting thing that we don't really think about, because we like to only trade the 10-year, or, well, I guess I do kind of think about it, but I'm always kind of just like, it sucks, right? Is that there are some situations where we're moving, right? But the 30-year moves way more than the 10-year. And so it's advantageous for us over here in the micro 10-year, right? So the reality is that actually we are exposed to the change in the yield curve too. We're exposed to the risk from the outright and to the change in the yield curve. And if we're in a situation where the 30-year isn't moving very much, then we don't make very much in our trade, and we don't get paid for taking the risk on, and it sucks, right? But if you come in and you do a spread trade, then you're only exposed to the change between these two things. See, now yours, no, this is certainly is not static. Certainly is not static. But, and this was the next point that I was going to, right? Was that if we, the way that we can just kind of jump over all of that, right? We can just skip all of that and just trade the micro yields instead, because the micro yield is always adjusted for what that DV01 is, right? That's the nice thing about the micros, is that then there's all of these extra little risks in the math driven by the convexity and so forth when the DV01 changes on you that you don't have to worry about with the micro yields. You just have to worry about how is the yield going to change. You got a good job, Mushin. These kinds of days, like, I didn't trade it, but usually this kind of action after a big move is usually not very good for me. So you did well today, I say congratulations, because it's tough to get out with a good win off of one of these. In this kind of a market, like, everybody's hurting. I mean, everybody's portfolio took a hit today, right? Your 401k is hurting, even if your trading account's not. Anyways, the whole point of all of that, what did it actually do? The whole point of all of that was just to say that when the interest rates are rising, that because of all of these kinds of features, that's why the 2-year yield ends up rising faster than the other ones in certain situations. And the way that you can go in and you can kind of try and make some of these changes is you can come in and say, I'm expecting to see X amount of selling come into the treasury market across these different maturities, and then kind of come in and do the calculations. And now that you have all of that information, you can determine which way the yield curve is going to go from that and how far. But I think though, I still think that the main reason why they like the spread trade is because the spread trade usually flattens. Usually you go flat. And even now, like, it seems like it's so flat, that's probably not a good trade now, but even now, that's maybe probably the trade. Like, I think the yield curve is likely to continue flattening. When it steepens, it's going to happen really, really quick, but I think that the way that this works is that basically this time they have to flatten more. I am just a poor PhD student without a girlfriend. Well, that's why we were never got into the dating stuff, right? I don't know what we would say about dating. We were talking about it yesterday, like the thing on my mind, like the thing that's always on my mind. If I'm honest with you, like here's the thing, okay? My experience, okay? So I never did anything in high school. In Utah, you be a missionary, you come back. I went several years, didn't really go anywhere. Like, I didn't meet very many people, and then I met a girl that I'd known online for a long time that liked me, and then we got together and got married. Okay, so I didn't have a whole lot of experience before I got married, right? And she had fertility problems, so we tried for really. So we were together. What was it? It was from 2008 to 2013, 2014, something like that. Okay, and then eventually, if you're with a girl and you don't have a kid, after a while, they just. I know that this is going to sound like dumb, because I don't want it to make it seem like women are just a slave to their emotions and will do dumb and irrational things in weird situations. But I'm just telling you, there's a tendency that if a woman doesn't have a child with you after a certain number of years, that they tend to leave. Okay, is what tends to happen. Right. Okay, so I thought of my first marriage was fine, even though there was some problems, and she was really impulsive and things like that. But like, the reality of it was that we were just like kids, just kind of like finding whatever it was that we could do to try and occupy ourselves. And I don't feel like it was really like the same level of a relationship as I have with my current wife. And why is that? Well, because we never had kids. Like, the whole point, the whole basis of the relationship being the kids is a completely different dynamic, right? All of these things that you're looking for in a partner and things, that matter, and how you're interacting with each other, all comes down to how do you run your house for the benefit of your children, right? So the point that I'm trying to make here is, you guys, they're useless, just say it. No, it's not. That's not the case. Okay. But what I am trying to say is that you will have more success. You will have, your dating life will be easier. You'll be, because I'm telling you, man, like, dating out there right now is rough, and there's all sorts of problems in the dating world, right? But your dating life will be happier, and your actual married life will be happier if you make the basis of your marriage the goal of raising children. That's why marriage exists. And almost all of the modern problems that we have with marriage in our society today, in my opinion, controversial opinion, I know, but in my opinion, are due to the abandonment of children as the primary driver behind marriage. We turned it into, it's for the emotional needs of the husband and wife and all this sort of stuff. No. I'm telling you, it's not as good of a basis. You won't have as good of a situation. And so like if you sit down and you say, I'm gonna marry this person and we're gonna breed, okay? If that's your line of thinking, and they know when you're dating that like that's your intention, I'm telling you, man, it is so much freaking easier to date, right? So you set the things up and you go and you go out with them, and you just court. That's a traditional way of dating, but I'm telling you, man, it's so much easier than this hangout, what are we, aren't we kind of bizarre world, right? I can't get as far as a coffee date. Yeah. So I'm betting you've tried like a Tinder account and like you just never get any matches on Tinder, yeah? So I think that the big advantage that you get these days is that you can date more people overall. So that was kind of the other thing about my story, was like the first time around, I didn't, I had a hard time finding dates and meeting people, and like there was a couple of times where I asked, there was, I was like, oh, okay, I want to ask this girl out, or I want to ask this girl out, and like it didn't happen. It was so frustrating. Like, it was so much harder to make that sort of stuff happen in person. And then you get on Tinder and it's just like, well, I think you're good looking, and then you meet, and that's it. I put that photo with looking away from the camera. I was told I look like I need to sleep more. I deleted it the next day. So you gotta, I've told you, like, you gotta go and get the picture and like go all out, right? Like, get your haircut that day, find a professional photographer, right? If you get a good photographer, they'll make sure that you don't look like you're falling asleep. But I get it. It's hard for some guys, right? So for some guys, Tinder might not be the best, right? I doubt that Akshay is unusually ugly, but maybe you're unusually ugly, right? Then you're probably not going to do very well on Tinder, but you could still meet a lot of people, right? So then your next step is you're going to want to go and join local forums where there will be single people. That makes sense. So like maybe you have a special interest or a hobby of yours, and then there's a group for it, something like that. And pick a hobby that like single people like to do. Or like for me, I met my wife in a singles group for members of my church. Right. That was on Facebook. That's how I met her. When you're in those kind of situations and you already have like an underlying shared interest or values, like religious values or something like that, way easier to get to the dating portion. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, it's called doing. No, it has to. I said it has to be a hobby or interest that has women. That's not. I'm a bet that in your PhD program there's like 2 girls. I don't know how big of a PhD program that you're in, but it's gonna be like, if there's like 100 people, there's gonna be like 2 girls in it. Oh, it's 8 people. And how many are women? Wow, and so a PhD program is actually quite small. All men. Yeah, there you go. It's not that women can't be good at math. It's for some reason they're not interested in it. Oh my gosh. My son, my stepson, was talking to the stepdaughter, and he was saying that like that their dad like didn't do very good at math and like had to like retake a class or something like that, and that mom didn't go very far in math, and that math is mostly genetic, so they shouldn't expect to be good at math either, right? So like the thing is I've gone, you know, he's been kind of slacking on doing his math homework because the teacher, I hate that they do this, but the teacher basically says, oh, you don't have to turn anything in until the test, right? So like what the kids will do is like not do any of the homework, because really you should be doing the math like literally every day, right? They don't do any of it, and then they just burn and do it all before the test or something like that, right? And then he's like, oh, I have to do like these 10 assignments and it's way too much. And then I go and I look at the assignment and I'm like, this is stupid, simple stuff. Like I could fill this out and complete this in less than a minute, man. I didn't say it quite like that, but I'm like, this is pretty simple math and you can do it. And he can, he goes and he does it and he goes through it really faster than he expects and whatever. But he still thinks that he's awful at math. Actually says, really, both my parents failed 8th grade math and stopped after it. Oh man. Yeah, well, I think the whole thing is that like aptitude at math and aptitude at passing a class are very different. Oh, did I click on well, it looks like I did. I'll just take that off. It was on a sim account, so it's fine. This is why when I'm not actively taking a trade, I tell you what, like a little tip for you guys that I've never shared before, but with Jigsaw, you can set up demo accounts, right? Always set up at least one demo account, right? And then when you're not trading, set your DOM up to use that demo account. That way, if you misclick or something, it's just on a sim account. Anyways. Doing the school part of it is really hard and grueling, right? Because you have to sit and focus on it for a long time, and you might have missed something, and there's all these things, whereas you might actually be really like there's so many different facets of math that if you just kind of like endure through it and push through it, you can kind of get to a point where you're getting into types of math that are kind of more your thing. You know what I mean? Anyways. So this greatly concerns me. So here's my plan. Because we can't have this kids thinking that they're not going to be good at math. He thinks he's going to be a lawyer. I think we've talked him into being a lawyer, which I mean is good. Like that's a good career, but like there's some real big downsides to being a lawyer too, okay? Lawyer's not a very happy profession. And even as a lawyer, I think that math can kind of help you. Okay, so here's the plan. When they come back on Sunday, we are going to watch Gattaca. You seen Gattaca? We're only like 10 years away. Once they get the DNA testing things, like Ceranos. If Ceranos had actually been real, then maybe we would be in the Gattaca. But it's coming. It's coming, probably. But Gattaca teaches us a very important lesson. What is our very important lesson? Effort matters more than genetics. 100%. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. And it is kind of an odd movie because it's got a bit of a slow burn part to it, right? You know what I think about Gattaca is like there's a couple of movies that are like this. Some movies are really strongly about the experience that the movie is trying to send the viewer on. That the movie spends a lot of time focusing on certain things that might make it seem slow because they're trying to get you into a certain state of mind, right? So like a show that I'm just going to mention a show that's even more obscure, and I don't think that would help you guys if you'd never seen Gattaca, but I was going to say Evangelion is like that too. Evangelion has a really slow burn to kind of make you feel depressed from watching the show, so that when you get to the end, you feel like you've been traumatized right there along with Shinji. That's what Evangelion is. Yep. So Gattaca is like that, this whole slow burn, and it's all reaching up to the point where they're swimming across the river, and the brother who is genetically enhanced is like, I'm too tired, I can't make it, we need to go back, and I'm gonna fail, and the brother or the main character is like, no, and the brother like passes out or whatever, and so the brother saves him by dragging him all the way across the river. And he's like, how are you doing this? And he says, I'll tell you how I was doing this. I never saved anything for the swim back. Yeah. It's all for that one moment to sit there and say, what matters is that you give everything that you have and more. And that will always give you up an edge on other people that maybe have higher aptitude than you. That's what the kid needs to learn. Doesn't matter that your genetic parents sucked at math. You can be better at math than them because you put in the effort. Eat well, be handsome and shape. Well, you know what? This is another. I don't know how to deal with this other problem. Maybe you guys actually you won't. You're gonna give me a bunch of really terrible advice is what's gonna happen. But I'm gonna ask you anyways. Okay. Hold on. His dad is a redhead. His mom has curly hair. Mom usually straightens her hair, but it's curly. Okay, like big curls, not like tight Jew curls, but big curls. Okay, so he's got. I would still say call it brown, but slightly reddish hair. Slightly reddish hair. So he's slightly redhead, curly hair, and really tall. And when I mean really tall, I mean like he is now 15. He's at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year, he was maybe 1 or 2 inches shorter than me, and now he's 1 or 2 inches taller than me. And still growing. So he is probably going to be well over 6 feet, like maybe 6'2". He's tall, right? Not only is he tall, but he has extremely unusually advanced language skills. So like he's gotten into the debate club and he's having success in the debate club. And he's just like destroying them in debate club, apparently. And I'm not surprised at all. It's like just like a cakewalk for him because he's always from the day I met him. Because when I met them, he was only like 8 years old, and I was like, how is an 8-year-old using all these words? He's just been on the internet, like reading everything on the internet, and has extremely advanced language because of that, right? Okay, so he's got like a lot of things going for him. Like really, he has a lot of things going for him. And if anything, the biggest problem that he's probably going to have to face as he gets older is having women throwing themselves at him and not really knowing that they're interested in him as a person, or they're just interested in him because he's tall. You know what I mean? Like that's the first world problems to the max for a guy, right? You are one of those guys that everybody always talks about, complains about straight white men that have too much power in it. That's you, bro, right? And yet he views himself as at the very bottom of the social hierarchy, almost like he wants to be at the very bottom of the social hierarchy. And he wants to associate with the people that see the lowest value in themselves and stuff. It's just like, what the heck? like you realize that if you had just made some changes in like who you hang out with and everything, you'd be dating like the cutest girl in school at this point. Like, and I don't know. I'm just like, okay, well, we just have to do our thing as parents and do our best job and hope that he figures it out on his own. You know what I mean? So I don't know what to do to help him realize that. It's a really weird thing. Motivation and optimism is sexy, yeah. Like here's the thing, okay? So the reason that his parents divorced is because his dad is gay, okay? And they knew that when they got married, but he was cheating on her with men, right? So but so because of that, the kids have been exposed to, you know, they have a lot of people over at their house and a lot of LGBT people, and so they're very LGBT friendly. So he got involved in the LGBT club at school, right? Which there wouldn't necessarily be anything wrong with that, but in Utah, that's kind of like gonna guarantee you as a social outcast. And, you know, anyways, so most of the thing that's going on, oh man, this is so weird. Let me blow my nose. Okay, so there's been in this country, I know that I'm getting into like a controversial subject, but I trust you guys, and I think this is an interesting, like what I've seen from this is really interesting in the larger context of like what's going on in society, okay? So there has been an explosion among the youth of transgender identifying youth. And the thing that is most startling about it is that it used to be that transgender people, I don't know what the proper term to use there would be, are people that are born as men and identify as women, okay? That was like the vast majority of them, okay? And now with this recent influx of people identifying as LGBT or as transgender specifically, it is mostly people born as women, as girls. Okay? And I definitely see that. So like he has the other kids over. There's like 5 girls that they all think that they're guys. And then, you know, like there's Everett, who is not really well, he says that he's pansexual, I guess. And then like 2 other guys, I think, right? Was what I remember from the last time that they had kids over, right? So he's like dating these girls. He's dating these girls, and they're doing heterosexual things with each other. We'll put it that way, right? So it's like these girls, you know, that it's, so what I see, and this is where I kind of have to be careful. What I see is these women, these transgender individuals say, you know, I was born a girl, but I feel like I'm a boy, but they're acting like girls. They're going after the cute tall boy. You know what I mean? And he's getting tons of from what I can tell, he's getting tons of action from the transgender men. I guess you call them. Is that what you say, the transgender man? Anyways, I was just like, I'm not trying to be like disparaging towards a group or anything like that. I want to be very, very clear. I'm just telling you like the reality of what I'm seeing, right? My dad tells me a story about his childhood friend from the 1950s called the mailman a hermaphrodite. His mother got really angry with Okay, that's weird. Anyways, so the whole point of that was, though, is that I want to be clear. I don't think that it's because he identifies as LGBT or anything that he seems to see himself as low value. I don't think that has anything to do with it, but it's just kind of, it shows how, like, even though he sees himself as low value, and most of those kids do see themselves as, because they're depressed. Like, it's really crazy. Like, they have serious mental issues. Okay, he's still getting tons of action, right? So, like, he could really probably get any girl that he wanted if he just realized it, right? But how do you get a guy to realize that? I'm not quite sure how you do it. Well, actually, maybe I do. Maybe I do. The way you get them to realize it is you pump some iron, or you do boxing or something like that. And when a man, it feels like they have physical confidence, that really adjusts their attitude towards other people. So they kind of sit there and they're like, I might not be the smartest person, but I can at least handle myself, right? Little successes here and there will get them there. It's just an interesting thing. I think the way he got there was he had a sleep apnea problem for a while. That kind of made him depressed, and I don't know if he ever pulled himself out of that. Anyways, I've told you too much about my family now. Must be only getting into that sort of thing because I'm sick, because I'm usually pretty guarded about all that. Well, I've brought it up before, but I try to be really careful, huh? I should be really careful. Now, on the other hand, I'm hoping, because he's a smart guy. He is very intelligent, especially with language skills, and so I hope, because some of these other kids in his group seem to have some interesting emotional problems, and maybe he'll help him out. I hope so. You deadlift 225. So that's not bad. That's a good squat, actually. Wait, how much do you weigh? Overhead press 90 kilograms is good too. Your deadlift should be way more than 225 though. You're at 81. So in my weightlifting team, you're in the weight class that we haven't had a whole lot of people in, but for the guys that I've seen that are in 81, I would probably see closer to a 300 kilogram squat. But you want your overhead press to be above your body weight. Mine is not even close. I'm just terrible in that respect. But your deadlift, a deadlift is potentially going to be higher than your squat. Not that it matters. You're good. You're strong. Can we just get the obvious one out of the way? I know I really hate things like this because it's like, man, it's something that really bothers me. It really does. It's not like the thing that's at the top of my mind all the time or anything like that. But whenever this subject comes up, it really bothers me, right? Like, people talk about, you can be born with certain advantages and disadvantages, and being born with you know, being born black, for instance, is a disadvantage generally speaking, and that is true. That is true. But there are some other disadvantages that you can be born with that are potentially even more disadvantageous, certainly in the sexual marketplace, that never get any attention. Like if you're short or you're an Asian male, right? Like why should Asian men be considered less attractive overall? It makes no fucking sense to me. Height has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of your relationship. It's stupid. It's every bit as much, if not more so, an awful bias as, you know, racism. So yeah, actually it's not. Well, you must not be short if you're 81. If you're 81, you're probably an okay height. 81 is a good weight, to be honest with you. I don't know, centimeters. Five foot. That's 5'9". Yeah. Oh yeah, he said that 5'9". Well, now that's interesting. You should go into Olympic weightlifting, brah. You might be good at that. Because your average height, but you sound pretty stocky for 5'9". Not pretty stocky. I mean, I'd say that's about average, but you'd certainly be a lot better at it than me. You should know Netherlands would be a great place to find weightlifting. You'd find more weightlifting than in the United States, at least. Maybe if you come over to the US, though, you might have more opportunities, yeah. Well, my recollection is that you are originally from India, though, right? Well, I mean, that's your name. Your name is an Indian name. Yeah. So then it should be easy, right? You just need to get your parents to set something up for you, and I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. That one. I'm probably being like too overly sensitive here, but so have you ever seen Big Bang Theory? And there's the Indian guy that like can't talk to girls. I get that call every week from mom. Listen, I'm just telling you, actually. The objective here is a relationship premised on raising children. Okay? So, your parents can actually do a pretty good job at identifying that for you. They actually can. Probably not as good of a job as you doing it yourself, but if you get that kind of help from your parents and they try and set you up with somebody, I would try and take advantage of it. Especially if your culture, if it's a common thing in your culture. I thought you were married. I remember before you mentioned only your wife gets to see your trading intel. Oh. That's funny AF. Well, treasuries are starting to get a little bit heavy here, man. I'm wondering if they settle the day down at 24. Equities made an okay recovery, though. I think I've been able to cough up a bunch of the icky stuff because That breath in feels a lot better. I find a lot of successful folks have less attachments, wives, partners, and Milas, etc., etc. Well, probably what you're picking up on there, D, is that low neuroticism is correlated with success. So, neuroticism is basically a measurement of strong emotions. So if you're good at keeping your emotions under control, then that helps you out a lot. So one of those things with ADHD that, you know, you're always asking yourself, it doesn't really bother me, but you can't help but ask the question, would I be as successful if I wasn't on medication? Probably not. But then why? And I think one of the big things is that I think that I'm slightly above average in neuroticism. Most of the time, medication keeps me as extremely low neuroticism. But what it does is it kind of makes me have a more severe breaking point. So like I'm gonna be very low neurotic until like I get a couple of bad trades in a row, and then I'm gonna be like so much more neurotic than your average person, right? Or even if I might not be showing it, like my performance just completely goes down the tube, right? When I have a drawdown, they're bad. My ears are popping. That's why I'm doing this weird thing. I'm popping my ears. Wait, why does my... Oh, okay, never mind. Like, why is it showing 4054 the high? Well, yesterday's close was 40... Let's say 4050... Yeah, let's say 4055. Am I reading that right? Oh, it was yesterday's low. 4055 was yesterday's low. So I don't think that this kind of a setup creates any kind of like good probability or anything like that. Generally speaking though, if this was a really bad number, you would stay below the previous day's low. Now for trading, having a good partner really helps. I mean, it really does. You don't need to have somebody that's super into finance and understands all the stuff or anything like that, right? But what you do need is you need somebody that's stable, right? This has been... Okay, like you watched The Wolf of Wall Street, right? Okay, that girl that he got together with, she was batshit crazy, man. At least in the movie. I don't know if that's what she's really like in real life, but in the movie, that girl in the movie was batshit crazy, right? Okay, that doesn't help you out. You want a girl that is hyper low drama. All right, don't go for the girl that's high upkeep, you traders. I know that's what you want. You want to say, oh, the big trader is going to have the hot trophy wife and the Ferrari and all that shit. That doesn't help you trade, man. Doesn't help you trade. You want to be the best trader? Stay humble. Pick a partner with the primary attribute I would look for is emotional stability in your wife, okay? So that's my dating advice today. Ignore everything else that I say. I think that this is better dating advice to go with. Find a wife that is very emotionally stable, because I went and I found the girl that is probably the most emotionally stable person I could possibly have ever hoped to find, and that really was the best thing. And this past week, it's been pretty tough because all of us are sick, and the babies are really, really sick and whiny. And it's a little scary too, to be that sick. And she has done such a good job. A lot of guys pick the wrong partner, less selective, then hard to unload that train. Yeah, well, I think that the issue is that what is the word? I'm sick and the words aren't coming out as well today, guys. I think that this applies more to women than it does to men, but it definitely applies to men as well. What we tend to be attracted to, like what we've been evolutionarily programmed to be attractive to, is not necessarily what's going to be most advantageous to you in a relation, like a long-term relationship, and what would be most advantageous to you in modern society, right? So, women like to go to after the tall guy, because the tall guy is going to be stronger and bigger and more, more able to protect you, right? So 20,000 years ago, being really tall, that was kind of a big benefit, right? And so that's why women evolved to prefer a tall guy, right? But in moderns, does that help you get the best marital relationship and help you in the modern world where, like, physical labor is, well, not, I guess there's still a lot of physical labor, but like being physically imposing is not nearly as important as it was 20,000 years ago, right? No, it doesn't matter. So you really have to understand what your biases are and like what are the things that actually matter for you. Yeah, they want to feel protected. Yeah, but where do you think that desire comes from? Right? It's evolutionarily programmed, probably. I don't know how you would prove that, but I'm going to make the assertion that it's an evolutionary desire. Now, here's the one that I don't get. Explain this one to me. I read a study how it boosts your careers. Well, yeah, because people treat you better. Maybe they have better genetics overall. Like they get with the smaller, hotter girls and all that sort of thing. So there's this whole thing that like men say that they would love to be married to a woman that is smarter than them. But then when they're actually put in the situation where a woman like beats them in a game or outsmarts them or something like that, they're not as interested in the woman. Why is that? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I mean, well, I think that there's like a certain level of smart where it's not like you're smarter than this person. It really has more to do with where is your intelligence at. You know what I mean? So like my wife, she was homeschooled and she did psychology in college. So like she's not dumb, but she's not quote unquote learned, right? Like if you ask her to point out a country on a map, she like knows nothing about geography. You ask her about like certain historical events, she knows nothing about history. And like you can teach it to her, and she just doesn't care. Like that she forgets it. She'll forget it. She'll just forget it. So there's that sort of a thing. And if a girl, yeah, good for her that she's focused on the things that she needs to be. Like in terms of like being able to meet a you know, understand, well, most particularly our children, but like other people's needs and what they might be thinking or doing, she's definitely smarter than me in that respect, right? And if a girl beats me in chess, I find that hot. If a girl beat me in chess, that's just what I would expect, because I've not like spent a lot of time learning chess or anything like that, but I don't ever recall ever doing well at chess or winning. So if a girl wanted to play chess with me, I'm bet she probably would beat me. Oh gosh, Lucas. I mean, yeah, I tell you what, it's something that'll happen to you after you get married. Is your mind will wander. It'll sit down and be like, well, what if this wasn't the right relationship, and what if I had gotten together with this person or that person, or I was able to find somebody like this? You'll go through those things. This doesn't mean that your marriage is bad or anything like that. Like that's just a natural thing that people do, and as long as you don't like freak out and like let it consume you or anything like that, you'll be fine. Okay. So one of the things that goes through my mind sometimes is I would like help with this, you know? You guys in chat are great. You guys in chat are awesome, and you help this stream out so much, and you're always bringing information to us, and you know, teaching other people in chat and sharing information. But it would be nice to have other people helping the stream that were like here in person. You know what I mean? And my wife is just not interested in the markets. So like I sit there and I'm like, oh, it would be really nice to have like a really smart girl that is like the analyst type, like an Aaron Burnett or something like that, right? But the reality is that my wife is much better suited to my circumstances. Being a partner that's smarter than you will definitely improve you. Well, that's where I'm getting at. Like, okay, so like, there are people that have below average IQ. Okay, that's like half of people with the way that IQ is supposed to be designed, that's like half of people. Okay, so there's like half of people. Okay, and then there's this other group of people that is like, I think that there are some people that just aren't motivated for whatever reason. Okay, but you get this group of kids that you know, they took whatever advanced class they could, and excuse me, you know, they got a good college degree and they studied hard and they put in all of the effort. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're smart. It just means that you've worked hard, so that you could potentially work for a corporation like Goldman Sachs. Because I'm just telling you, there wasn't any stupid people at Goldman, right? So when I look at the people that I knew at Goldman, I never sat there and said, oh, this person is so much smarter than me. Because that wasn't the issue. I mean, that wasn't the key differentiating factor. It wasn't that one person would be like objectively smarter than you. It would be that they would have their areas of expertise, or they would have their certain things that they were particularly good at, and you would have yours. You know what I mean? So to me, I kind of feel like that if my partner is clearly smarter than me, that it's only because I'm deficient in some way. You know what I mean? What do you mean by smart? I don't know. That's a good question. That's what I was trying to establish is like, there's like a base level of smart. It's like if you took all of the hard classes that you could and you did all of the work, then you went through this certain level. So like when I consider like in high school, there was, you know, the group of about 50 kids or so. They kind of fit into that category, right? So of those kids, there might be one or two guys that I sit there and are like very clearly smarter than everybody else. Okay. But other than that, the difference isn't I'm smarter than you. It's how are you smart, right? Matters more. And so the question that I would have is like, you know, when it comes to finding a partner, is not like, are they as smart as you are? That shouldn't be it at all. Although probably men, well, I don't know. Men will tend to have more developed career, but I digress. It's not. It's going to be how are they smart, right? Like a trader is probably going to be really frustrated in a relationship where their partner cannot follow simple logic, right? Like my wife definitely has that like self-bias, you know? Like if something went wrong, it certainly wasn't her, sort of a thing, right? Always very, very biased towards like her existing opinion, right? But she also understands logic and can argue with logic quite well, right? So we can get together and we can still come to a reasonable conclusion about something. Because that's what I mean. I struggle a lot with people who are not logical. Yeah. There you go. It is. I think that the kind of trader that sticks around for a long time and really gets into this is will get really frustrated by illogical, emotional people. That's why I was saying that like the thing I think you want to go for is a high emotional stability. Is probably the feature that I found, because that's not what I thought at the beginning. You know what I think it is? Okay, so I have a theory. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I think that what you don't want to have in a relationship is you and your spouse are divided on a significant cultural issue. Right? Like, if you think that abortion should be illegal and your wife thinks that all abortions should be like a government paid for service, you're gonna have problems, right? And I think that that's maybe why men. So I maybe it's not that men are picking up on like, oh well, that woman is more intelligent than me, so I'm not interested in her. I don't think that that's what they're thinking. They're thinking, she's too strong-willed and won't believe what I believe. Make sure her name isn't Karen. Best example I can think of is Albert Einstein was smart but not well educated. No, that was not what the case was, Raymond. Yeah. So the thing that was interesting about Einstein was that before he came out of obscurity, he was unremarkable in his career. Like, he went to a really good school and he was brilliant through all of school, and then he just went and was working in the patent office, right? Ultimately, there is someone who is going to lead in a relationship. This doesn't mean having any regard for your partner's opinion. Well, but it does. So, like, okay. Traditionally speaking, not even traditionally speaking, okay, women tend to not be as interested in politics as men. That's really the long and short of it. The majority of women rely on their husbands substantially for their political opinions, right? There's no mistake that married women and single women vote very, very differently, right? Married women tend to be more conservative and vote more like their husbands, and single women, at least right now, are very, very liberal, right? You know, if I come across a woman that's very politically engaged and we're gonna get together, like, she better be, you know, a Republican, essentially, right? Like our beliefs are going to have to match up really, really closely, because if we're both really politically engaged and we have like opposite political beliefs, it's not like it's impossible to overcome, but like that would be a real challenge, especially if it leads to differences in parenting styles and stuff. Couldn't land an academic position straight out of college, so he went to patent office till Max Planck's PhD student read one of his papers and was like, this dude discovered Planck's constant on his own in a different way. He is a genius, and brought him to finish his studies. Yeah. I guess the crazy thing about Einstein is you never know where genius could be lying. And there could be people that are absolute geniuses, and they just haven't been given the opportunity to show their brilliance, or they just haven't come across the subject yet. It happens. It definitely happens. And you know what? In trading, that can definitely be the case. Somebody comes in and they become the super successful trader. It can be anybody, man. Some of it is maybe just luck, but my chest still kind of hurts. I'm definitely gonna go to the car. I'll just drive for myself. Put on sweatpants though, so I won't be cold. I don't know, guys. Talking about relationships is always like really, really interesting to me. But it's kind of like a weird spot because I'm really happy in my relationships, right? And the kind of issues that I deal with are very different from the kind of issues that you might be dealing with as a single person. So I can kind of give like my own advice, but like the thing is that might not necessarily be appropriate to you, right? Like I kind of take a traditional approach. I really do think that the biggest problem out there is abandoning having children as the primary basis for a marriage. Okay, and so I really do think that if you approach things with the intention that you're going to have kids together, and that's clear from the very beginning, and you have like a real courtship with that in mind, that the dating game will be very much easier for you from that perspective. Okay, because the people that want to have kids, they ain't messing around, right? But you know, on some of these other issues, like how you match together different values and things like that, it's probably going to change considerably depending on who you are and the kind of culture around you and things like that. So what I say, because I'm from Utah, where we have a very conservative religious culture that's extremely dominant, more so than anywhere else in the nation, you know, that particular thing is much more, it's going to be very different for me than it is going to be for you, right? That is actually, which is hilarious because Planck's constant is fundamental to quantum mechanics, and Einstein his whole life was like, quantum mechanics is bullshit. That is funny. Didn't he kind of start to come closer towards quantum mechanics towards the end of his life? I don't know. I think that we're about... I'm having like really random thoughts today. I think that we're on the precipice of like finding out something groundbreaking about physics. Like that whole thing about the science that was awarded the Nobel Prize, that we had learned a ways back, of course, but I think that they're kind of getting close to solving some of the key pieces of the puzzle to quantum physics, because right now there's like a bunch of competing models of quantum physics, right? And I think that with CERN and, you know, a couple of other things that we're doing, that they might make one of those breakthroughs that really solidifies our understanding. No, when I... See, I'm having the random thoughts again. You know what that reminds me of, though, is the whole UFO thing. It's all these people saying that, like, they're doing this stuff that basically make this aircraft that's like an anti-gravity aircraft. It can just move around and do whatever it wants. It's like... There's some interesting information out there. Nothing conclusive, but... Unfortunately, right when we thought that maybe we were kind of learn more about that stuff, that kind of got shut down again. So, whatever. Man, when I cough, it hurts. And it just hurts. I'm gonna go in. Actually, it's time to shut the stream down. What is your stance regarding UFOs? I mean, a year or two ago, I don't know if you were here. We had a big long thing about this, right? I think it's incredibly interesting. It's incredibly interesting. The problem with the UFO space is that there is so much bullshit out there. Like the top influencers in the UFO space are just absolute charlatans. It's completely ridiculous. Okay, but there is enough evidence out there, especially from what we know from like actual government sources. You know, like this Nimitz incident, that is weird. So that was something. Like, I really want to know what that was, because I mean, you kind of have to read between the lines a little bit, but basically what they're saying is that they saw it on the sonar, and then they saw it on the radar when it came up, and then they saw it on their visual thing. That is the video that we have. So they've been able to identify this strange phenomenon thing that literally came up out of the ocean using 3 different sensors on a government system. I have no clue what it is. Is it aliens? I mean, I think that would be the coolest thing, but we don't have enough information to really know, right? So it's kind of a frustrating place, because it's like, I would like to know more and talk about it and everything, but the space is filled with so many idiots that you can't really, you know? So like, if you go to the Reddit, the UFOs subreddit, I should go and browse that again today. You just get so much, like, so many of the things that get posted, they're like, here's a cool UFO, and then they're like, oh yeah, that was from this incident and it was proven false. It was a secret USAF project that the Navy, well, so the counter to that one is that Obama's like Secretary of Defense or whatever it was, so somebody that was at the top level of government, you know, he was looking into it, and he said, like, if there was a project like that, I would have known about it. And he, you know, could be though. But like, that's the other interesting thing to me, is what kind of, if it's not aliens, what if it's just human technology? Like, how far is United States technology, the ones that aren't publicly? So like, oh, this is perfect, because you know what happens today is we get to see the new stealth bomber today. That's going to be interesting. And it's going to be interesting to see how, because like, that's being brought out, that means that it's like old technology. So we'll see how far it's gone. I think that the government must have some technology that would just absolutely blow our minds. I'm not very good at sarcasm, especially not over text. It's can be hard to read sarcasm over text. All right, I really should be going, guys. I will see you Monday, hopefully feeling a lot better. In the meantime, stay excellent.